All right, everybody, welcome back to Clicks and Bricks. My name is Ken. Our show is all about helping business owners, entrepreneurs, and business managers with tips and tricks on using technology to make their life easier and grow their business. So, today we're going to talk about, let's see here, do we have it between the cubicles? Yes, we do. Big Tech Reveal conferences. Thinking of going completely digital. Thoughts on work from home bleeding into other areas. I'm not sure I quite understand this question, Nick. Nick's going to have to help me out with this one.
Like the big Apple and Microsoft events, they're like leaning towards doing them all online now, so not having people in the crowd anymore.
Oh, so the big conferences.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I hate, so the big tech conferences,
Right.
but specifically the reveal conferences. Is that what they're talking about? Not like the consumer electronics show,
Like the reveal stuff.
right? Because CES is awesome. My favorite show that I've ever been to is CES. I don't know. I think the reveals are important, and I think that going completely virtual is probably a mistake. You want, well, I guess if they did what DJI does this a lot. They send out models to the YouTubers before they actually drop their product. So they have the YouTubers making content and it's in their hands well before it's ever released. So if they do a good job of that, I think they could probably pull off a totally virtual show. And I like virtual stuff a lot, and I think it's a way to add to it. But at the end of the day, I'm a social creature, man, and I really, really enjoy going out and meeting people and shaking hands and doing all those things. I don't like doing it, all the time, but 2 to 5 shows a year is typically what I like to go to. Going all virtual, I think some products it would work for and some it wouldn't, right? So, like today, if you were to launch a new phone, just any new phone, it would be hard to do that. It would suck probably to do it live, right? A virtual event would be great for that because phones really haven't changed that much. Even the new, flip phone is just new technology wrapped in an old container, put together, and pushed back out. So I think a lot of technology like phones, earbuds, things like that, those product releases can absolutely be virtual and probably get more benefit out of being virtual. But, big companies, the car shows, Tesla's got to be at the car shows, right? Bigger products, I think the show is important and being able to see it. And I like going to CES because I get to see so much different technology in one place. But that's a conference. It's not a reveal conference. But people use it as a reveal conference, right? They use CES as, hey, we're launching this product and we're going to launch it at CES. That happens quite a bit. So I think it goes both ways. It depends on what you're doing. It depends on your product. Depends on how far are you in your journey. Apple releasing another phone, who gives a shit, right? It's just the same thing. It's another mousetrap pushed out. Same thing with Google, right? So unless they really come up with some new technology, and as virtual reality and augmented reality become more mainstream, I think it will be there. But how do you do a virtual reality show reveal unless people already have all the virtual reality tech in their house? That would be hard to do, right? So maybe 10 years later, when you're just doing better VR, then that can be virtual as well. So anyway, I hope I didn't ramble too much. Kind of a weird mood today. I've been to the doctor a couple times today. I hurt my shoulder a couple weeks ago, and they're trying to figure out if they're going to have surgery on it or not. But anyway, I just took a left turn. Moving on to the first question. Today's episode is brought to you by Enlink.com. Rapport made easy. Go to Enlink.com and get your free account. Reserve your name today. There's still a lot of names left. People are signing up pretty rapidly, though. But there's still a lot of first names in the dictionary, a lot of regular names. If you need a centralized location to have all of your social media for your business, Enlink.com is a great place to do that. And it's super affordable to get that verified check mark. So anyway, Roger asks, I am opening a hiking equipment store in Colorado and currently looking at everything I need to get going. Could you go over some essential systems equipment needed for an in-store point of sale system. I'm familiar with a couple of in-store point of sale systems, and I would seriously consider looking at an equipment store POS system. There's a lot of companies out there that are making custom use or single use kind of software packages for specific industries. I know I own a gym and I use a program called Zen Planner, which would probably work great, but it's more for memberships. So really great tool, great system. If I were opening just a retail store, I would be really hard pressed not to just use Square. Square is a fantastic solution. They've got a great point of sale system, does all your inventory control system, really easy to export that out. You can use Square to host your e-commerce website, or you can export that data and put it into your WooCommerce or whatever other platform that you need. Square is super easy to use, super affordable, right? There's no, there is transaction fees for every transaction for your credit cards, but you can still also take cash inside in the store. So that's what I would use Square as the point of sale system without even thinking about it, unless you found an industry specific point of sale system that worked for your needs. But even then I would cross test them pretty heavily, right? Because Square is just going to keep innovating and keep coming out with new stuff. So Square is a good one. Go over some of the essential systems equipment needed for point of sale system. So yeah, Square's got it all. Like you can do the thermal printing, you can do the tap system. You can either do it on Android or Apple. I've seen some places just use cell phones, right? Even restaurants now can just use this. They have a cell phone, they bring it out, they take your order, and it goes to the back. So that's really all you need in a nutshell, and they'll help you set it up. If you want to give us a call, we can go. I mean, I wouldn't even charge you for just going through their website and kind of, how many workstations you need and that kind of stuff. So sounds like a fun project. Hiking equipment store in Colorado, that is amazing. I would recommend looking into equipment rental too. So if you're going to sell the equipment, rent it out as well would be another line of revenue that I would look into doing. Because I know if I went to Colorado and I was going to hike, I would need some stuff, but I wouldn't want to buy hiking stuff because I don't do that in the Colorados very often. Moving on to question number 2. Tim, how you doing, Tim? I'm going to be hiring some employees for my restaurant soon. Until now, it has been just me and my wife running it. Congratulations. We're looking at hiring 4 employees. Do you have any recommendations for an HR system out there? So the first thing I would do is I would talk to whoever your accounting person is, whoever you're sending your tax information to. They probably have something that they are already familiar with. They might even do payroll themselves and basic HR services. If they don't, I really like Bambee. It's really affordable, probably the most affordable HR system that I've found. It does all of your onboarding for you. It reminds you to give your employees reviews, which is wildly important. I fail at this all the time. It's probably my biggest weakness as a manager is giving your employees regular reviews. I think that attaboy and slap on the back is good enough a lot of times, and I know it's not. So Bambee will help you remember doing that, even if and I'm horrible at it. They help remember doing it, and I still regularly fail. But I do buy most of my employees lunch once a week to kind of thank them for me not really accommodating them and telling them that good job or giving them formal reviews more frequently. So I like Bambee a lot. Talk to your accountant, whoever that is. They're going to help you a bunch. Bambee's super affordable, but your accountant should give you those tips and tricks at no charge because he's going to get some kind of new fee every month. It's a small fee, like $25 to $100, somewhere in there for payroll. And then if you're hiring new employees, you got to figure out what they are, right? If you want full-time employees, then you're going to have to also start thinking about workers' comp insurance and short-term, what benefits are they going to get? And your accountant can help you there because he's going to get paid a commission from some guy that he works with regularly, most likely. I hope that helps, Tim. If you don't have an accountant now because it's just you and your wife running your restaurant, congratulations to you. I don't know how you're holding it up. You definitely need some employees because, well, I don't know. You could be like a brunch and lunch place and still have some life inside you. But to me, all restaurants are open breakfast to 3 a.m. So I don't know why I think of that because we have a couple of lunch and brunch places really close, like the Shack and stuff like that. So I don't know. My biggest thing is congratulations for starting a business with just you and your wife and keeping the doors open, realizing that you need help, and then going out and getting it. So we're going to jump in right now to Today in Tech History. 6/29/21 is today's date. Yeah, that's today. All right. So on today's date in 2007, the phone that changed everything. Nearly 6 months after it was introduced, Apple's highly anticipated iPhone goes on sale. I remember that. Lines are huge, right? They're wrapped around buildings, all that stuff. At that time, I did not have an iPhone. I had a phone called, I think it was called Helio, and it was really cool. It was touchscreen, way before its time. It was a big manufacturer in Korea, and they had this really cool feature where you could tag people and geo-track them. Yeah, iPhone changed the world, man. Definitely. It wasn't any new technology per se, but it was rewrapped and packaged, and Apple did that. Steve Jobs packaged things phenomenally. He did a really great job. He closed the system. He made sure that no third parties could get in there, and that their technology worked the way they anticipated it working instead of having some other variables in play. So, good job, Apple. Thank you, Steve Jobs, for everything that you've done for us. Rest in peace. But yeah, it was a good run. I wish that somebody would do something new. Anybody, right? Like, getting kind of boring in the phone world right now. I think Lenovo is probably pushing the limits with that folding thing. I guess Samsung tried to do the fold too, but I see Lenovo now pushing it. But yeah, the folding screens, I don't know if that's going to catch on or not. It's cool, great concepts, but I will not be an early adopter of folding screens. Will not be something I'm going to grab onto really quickly. So moving on to question number 3, Freddie. How you doing, Freddie? Thank you for watching the show. I heard of different websites out there that offer services such as HR and even writing, editing for your businesses. Are using these services worth it when you're running a small business? I've heard it can save you money, but is the quality of work compromised? That's a tough one. So, I believe that the biggest compromise to quality of work is impatience. So, hiring a third party to do your work is, I believe, essential to all businesses. At some point, like even Tim, right? Him and his wife are working, and they're going to hire people to do some of the work. That's outsourcing the labor. So, I have found that the more niche your third party is, the better quality product you get. But you still have to have somebody on your team qualifying all the content and creative that they do and they put out, right? You can't just trust them. So one thing, we have a couple of these different services, right? So for HR, we have Bambee. That's who I use for HR services. For Hosterian, for my gym, I don't have an HR company at all. We just do it in-house, and my wife handwrites the checks still. But most people are direct deposit from the accountant. So anyway, moving on. We use a company called Floxy, and they do a bunch of different things. They don't do anything fantastic, right? So there is some give and take, but the people that edit these videos are Floxy. So we do all the recording. We do a lot of live switching, which Sam does. But then if we need to touch anything up, then we send it over to Floxy with what they call a brief, which basically says, hey, drop a phone number at this time, do this here, do that there. And sometimes you think, well, if I got to tell them every step, why don't I just do it? Because at the end of the day, you can get more work done if you tell them what to do, hand it to them, and then move on to the next task. Another thing that we do is we have them do some creative writing. So we have, we'll take 4 or 5 articles, and we have, a company brief with them that says, hey, this is the Hosterian company voice, and this is, how we want to sound professional and trustworthy and all those things. So we'll say, hey, I need a new article on cloud versus VPS, so cloud servers versus virtual private servers, and what's the difference? And we'll take 4 or 5 different articles and say, hey, here's some good reference material for that article. Will you write us a new article using this reference material? And we'll have like 3 key points that maybe we'll have them do it. And they do a good job, right? It's not colorful writing, it's technical writing. But then it comes back, and then we have Nick read that, touch it up, sometimes fix some grammar, and then put it out. But that frees Nick up to do other stuff. So he's not going through that whole process of, writing the entire article. He's gathering some information, sitting off. They do a bulk of the work, and then it comes back and it gets refined. So I think, so Nick is in charge of that last 2% or that last dollar spent. And Marcus Lemonis says this all the time. The last $2 or the last dollar you spend on a project is the most important, right? So you can have, spent a lot of time and energy on a project, but if it's not edited at the end of the day and it's not polished at the end of the day, then it looks like crap. And that last little bit is what makes it count. So have them do the bulk of the work, and then you or somebody on your team really take the time then and have the patience to go through it. I find if you do all the work cradle to grave, if I do everything cradle to grave, I lose patience and I just want to get the project over with, so I kind of rush through it, especially when I'm getting towards the end, right? Done is done enough. And what I have found personally is having those resources lets me say, okay, it's not done enough. It needs to be more polished. It needs to be pushed through a little better. And I'm not burnt out on the project by the time it gets there. So I love those services. That we use Floxy. I like Design Pickle. And there's another one that we just onboarded. One that I absolutely love outsourcing content is damngoodcontent.com. It's super cheap, and you get new content. Even if you don't use their content, it's great for ideas. What's the new blog one that we just onboarded? For blog articles? You don't remember? All right. So we have another one that's specifically for blog articles, and they'll write the blog articles. Search engine link?
That's one.
Search engine land or link? Land? Search engine land is one that you can go and you can buy articles, and they'll write the articles for you and push them out. And I don't know for sure, but I expect that those will be better articles than Floxy, because Floxy does everything. They do everything okay. And what I've been finding is that companies like Design Pickle or 99 Designs, they do really, really great at the thing that they specialize in. So depends on what you want. Is it a shortcut? Yes. Will it save you money? Yes. Will the work quality be compromised? Only if you let it. Right? So if you don't let the quality be compromised, then don't. But what that means is that somebody from your team is going to have to check and double check that work before you push it out. Moving on. Kevin. Kevin asks, is there something you wish you knew when you first started running a business in terms of tech? If not, do you have any general advice for someone in that situation? I have a lot of advice there, and a lot of things that I wish that I knew. And I don't think that there's any piece of single advice about technology that I wish I knew in the beginning. Do your research. If I had one piece of advice about technology, do your research, buy once and cry once. Do not try to cheap out and do workarounds for stuff, right? There's a lot of things that you can do that with, but when it comes to your technology, your core fundamental technology, don't take the shortcuts. I don't think I'm saying that very well. If there's a piece of your business that has to run absolutely correctly and you're not the subject matter expert on that, then hire it out. Get somebody in there to help you with it. That would be a big one. As far as tech goes, for me, I hear this all the time. Tech changes so quickly, and in a lot of aspects, that's absolutely true. But what I've really realized that in 20 something years in this industry, that it doesn't change that much at the end of the day. Websites are, building websites, how you do it has changed quite a bit, and it's gotten faster and easier. But websites, the underlying technology, the web server Apache, the web server IIS and Windows hasn't drastically changed on the technology side that much. New versions, new languages, new things like that, but the fundamentals don't really change. I wish I'd have known more about redundancy when I first got into this industry, and I wish I would have known more about monitoring and making sure that work is done. So right now I'm caught up in all these audit world stuff, and we have to ask questions like, and it's horrible stuff, right? And it's not why I got into business, but I wish I would have known that it was as challenging as it is to go through some of these audits. So we have something called an SSAE 18 audit that we have to do every year, and it's basically it's an audit that says we do everything that we say we're going to do. So to have servers that have medical data on them, or medical data, or any kind of intellectual property, we have to ensure, just an example, that the cage doors are locked all the time. And one of the questions is, how do we ensure that? And the answer is, well, every 6 hours we have literally somebody go check every single lock, and it's hundreds of locks, right? We check them all. And then the next question is, how do you know that employee's not lying to you? So now we have to have one person go do it one shift, another person go do it the next shift, and document that that's the case. So this constant checking and double checking is something that I never anticipated in business. I always took people for their word. If somebody said something was done, I accepted that and thought that was done. I took their word for it and moved on with life. And I found that more times than not, people's definition of done are not always the same. So, and then I wish I would have known that communication is as hard as it actually is. I always thought that I was a great communicator. I thought that people understood what I was saying, and I understood what they were saying. And for a long time, I touted, I was a great liaison between the tech people and the business people, which I still think that I'm a good liaison between that. But what I've learned, and as time keeps going on, that what I don't know about communication is, as big as the Grand Canyon. So I wish I'd have known that was harder, and I would have taken more time, maybe taken more psychology classes or sociology classes or something like that. And I had my fair share of those classes, but I don't think I paid attention very well at them. So I wish I would have known that is a bigger aspect of it, especially when you get, when you have 5 employees, not that difficult. And right now I'm probably total about 45 employees right now, and it's a challenge, and they're all different. And right now I have employees I've never met, so that's really weird for me. But I'm assuming that's going to keep happening, right? Because I'm not going to stop. So, but figuring those things out, I wish I'd have known it was as hard as it actually is to grow the business. And I wish I had had more kind of retail sales experience. So I wish when I was younger, I would have spent more time doing what the normal teenage jobs were. I didn't do that a lot. I went straight from a restaurant into film and video, which was pretty highly technical. And I did that at I started my first video production company at 16. So I didn't have a lot of kind of retail sales experience when I got to the point of having to sell, which has been a big problem for me, because I took the first part of my career was technical, and then I moved into some sales support roles, but I was never really had to sell the products on the front line. So I wish I'd have known that I was going to have to do that at some point, or spent more time studying it when I was younger, because now I'm studying in it, and kind of old. New tricks for old dogs are kind of hard, but we'll figure it all out long term. But I just wish I would have had more knowledge, more mentors. I had some great mentors. I still have some great mentors, but those are the things that I wish that I knew in the time. I don't think those are very objective things. Those are all kind of subjective topics that we have. But moving on to the bonus question, Nathan asks, and I'm going to take this in my opinion, Apple or Android, and I'm going to say Android, hands down, without a doubt, and I'll say that for a bunch of reasons. Apple makes a solid product. I don't believe that they're first to market, although a lot of people do, but I have a little bit of different perspective of that particular launch. So I think Apple long term is going to have the same problems with phones as the Apple computer did with Windows, right? Apple, you could go in the 90s or early 2000s and you went to the computers, I would say even the 90s. You went to the computer store, and at the time we had CompUSAs, right? A lot of people probably don't remember this. If you're my age, though, you probably remember CompUSA, and you would go to CompUSA, and you go to the software aisle, and there would be one little corner of Apple software, and rows and rows and rows of Windows software, because Windows opened their source, right? They let other third parties write software for their operating system. They also sold their operating system to anybody that wanted to build hardware for it. So Dell could build servers with Windows on it, and Dell couldn't build servers with Apple on them. And I think the nail that drove the coffin for Apple back then versus Windows was they had Apple was trying to really push the educational aspect, and Microsoft was trying to push the business aspect, and Microsoft came out with the Office product first. And they had Outlook, and they had Word, had a really great word processor and a really great spreadsheet application, which then Windows just became the obvious choice to be in almost every office in the country, unless you were an artist. So I think all those same things that why Windows beat Apple then is the same reasons why Android's going to beat Apple now. Because Android is open. It lets any hardware manufacturer put on their hardware. It lets almost any, it's way easier to build an app and put it in the Android store than it is to put it in the Apple store. And people will argue that that's a bigger risk because they don't know who's doing it. But I think you're a fool if you don't have antivirus on your phone or in your computer to begin with. But it just means more options and more control over what you want to do. And I mean, there's always going to be the people on the planet that love their Apple products and like that kind of closed environment that they get what they get and they know what they got. But at the end of the day, hardware manufacturers are going to be able to beat Apple with better hardware regularly because there's more team players. There's more teams playing that game, right? There's only one team playing the build the Apple phone game, and that's Apple. There's at least 20 people making Android devices, right? I would probably assume 100. And there's thousands trying to. So that's why I think at a high level, Android is better than Apple. And then Apple just made this huge stance against Facebook. Not really sure what that's going to do long term. So I guess we'll find out, do Facebook lovers love their Facebook so much that they're willing to change phones? I don't know. I don't think so. Is the Facebook experience different on Apple now that those new changes have happened? Can you even tell? Right? So I don't know if this Apple Facebook war is actually real or not. But if I'm a huge company, I definitely don't want to go to war with Facebook or Apple. Right? They're both have a lot of power. And I don't know what Apple's doing lately. What new are they doing?
They've been pushing the new iPad.
The new iPad, right? So I have in my life, in my home life, I have about 30 devices. And 3 of them are Apple devices. And they're specifically, the only reason I have Apple devices in my home is because I have a nonverbal son. And the software package that they use at his school is called Proloquo, and it's only on Apple devices. So for this, I could literally get a very, very similar Android device for about $100 and a very similar software package for about $30, but instead I had to spend $1,500 on an Apple and $750 on this piece of software, which for him, it's his voice, so I mean, it's well worth the investment. But I wish that the school would adopt Android for sure, because it's a hell of a lot more affordable, because you have a lot of other factors in play. You have total capitalism at play with driving the prices of software down. Yes, you might run into some software that's not nearly as good. Hopefully you can figure that out in the demos, the reviews, and things like that. Whereas Apple, you're kind of just, you get the software that's there, right? You can't really manipulate it that much, and there's not as many options. So anyway, if you would like to join my text line community, 314-370-2871. I hope you enjoyed today's show. I know I did. I will see you next Tuesday. Get to work.